See how you see me? That's what you want a crankbait to do. Skip off the rocks. That simulates a bait fish or a crawdad banging around looking for a food source. So I'm going to go over a couple techniques on how to use this bait more effectively and produce more fish. So one of the techniques I want to go over is crankbait. Now granted, I'm not going to be using a very deep diving crankbait because I'm in a fairly shallow area. I do have trees, I do have a lot of rocks. It gets a little deep, but not horribly deep. As you can see out there, there is some structure out there. So with a crankbait, a lot of people think you just tie this bait on and you throw it and crank it back. You can catch fish doing that. That is true. But where this bank shines, or this bait shines, is beating it against the rocks, letting it bang the rocks. See how you see me? That's what you want a crankbait to do. Skip off the rocks. That simulates a bait fish or a crawdad banging around looking for a food source. So I'm going to go over a couple techniques on how to use this bait more effectively and produce more fish. So what I'm looking to do here is I just want to cover amounts of water, right? So you can put this on a bait caster, works great, on a spinning reel. I am bank fishing, so I consolidated down to one spinning reel so I can be a little bit more agile and finesse a little more with different lures. But it'll work on either application. So you want to basically just bang the rocks. You'll feel it. Bang the rocks. And what I'm doing is a sweeping motion. That way, whenever I feel it hitting rocks, and right there, see it stopped? See how I'm kind of hung? I'm hung up in a rock there. Now, let it go. Let it sit there for a minute. A lot of your crankbaits will float. So what happens is that bill will hang on a rock and stand up. The more you yank and jerk and set the hook, the more you're going to just really penetrate whatever you're hung on, whether you're going to wedge yourself into some rocks or into a tree. So now let's see. There it is. Come right loose. See that? Come right out of there. All right, so let's say, you can see I'm covering a lot of ground with this too. Let's say you think you've got a fish. Well, that's where this motion is going to come in handy. So you're banging the rocks. You don't want to set the hook as if you're setting on a big off-shank hook or something like that. It's going to be a sweeping motion. Just going to real steadily sweep. Nice. Little harder pull than you normally are doing right now. You want a little bit more firmness, but you also don't want to swing for the fences. Let those treble hooks do the work for you. Plus, what that's going to do is allow you to feel the fish moving and know that you have a fish. So if you just all of a sudden go and think you've got a fish and you set the hook and you're on a stump, well, if you're bank fishing, chances are you're going to have to buy yourself a new lure. If you're on a boat, well, you still have a chance of getting your lure back. But it's going to take some work. So remember, a good sweeping hook set, almost the exact same way you're retrieving, but just with a little bit more firmness. See there? So I'm hung. I'm going to stop. Give it a second. Let that lure back up. Then I'll bring it out of there. See there? I'm out. And I got one. See there? Started going to my... Not a very big one, But right after I came out of that tree, that's not quite what we're after. We're looking for bigger guys than that, but that right there can just show you the effectiveness of a crankbait.